From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day, this is Dateline Malacañang, and here are the news. Despite ongoing impeachment procedures in the House of Representatives, Malacañang reported that Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is in good health and attending various meetings. Palace Press Officer and Communications Undersecretary Attorney Claire Castro said the President is in good condition and remains concentrated on his official obligations. Malacañang earlier disclosed that President Marcos suffered with diverticulitis, a non-life-threatening inflammation of pouches in the colon. He was rushed to the hospital and spent a night under medical supervision last January 21. The President took physicians' advice and skipped public events outside Malacañang but continued to work, handle paperwork, and attend meetings.
Yung kalusugan po niya, actually po, sinabi ko po, kinakamusta po kayo ni Ana Baggio. Sinabi ko po ang inyong pangalan at sabi naman po ng Pangulo ay mabuti po siya at tuloy-tuloy ang kanyang meeting. Ngayong araw po ay 5 meeting po ang kanyang dadaluhan.
When asked about the impeachment charge filed against the president, Castro said it was briefly discussed with President Marcos, who reiterated his commitment to constitutional processes. Castro noted that the president's legal staff has yet to begin preparations as the palace is awaiting developments in Congress. The House Committee on Justice is scheduled to vote on whether the impeachment accusations against President Marcos are sufficient in substance after previously deciding that the complaint was sufficient in form.
Napag-usapan, yes. Ang sabi lang niya ay nandiyan ang proseso at kung anong proseso, igagalang niya. Hindi pa. So alamin na natin kung anong mangyayari sa proseso. So pag nandiyan naman po yung proseso, sasagot na naman po ang Pangulo.
Palace Press Officer and Communications Undersecretary Attorney Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang expressed confidence in the impending arrest of fugitives involved in anomalous flood control projects. In a press briefing, Palace Press Officer and Communications Undersecretary Attorney Claire Castro said Philippine authorities are closely coordinating with the International Criminal Police Organization or Interpol to locate the personalities implicated in the flood control mess. Castro expressed the Philippine government's optimism about the Interpol's positive response to the country's request for the issuance of a red notice to those who remain in hiding, including former Ako Bicol Party List Representative Zaldico.
Liwanag yung tanong mo. Ibig sabihin, sa parte po ng gobyerno natin, ginagawa natin ang lahat ng paraan para mapauwi ang mga fugitives. So nakikipag-cooperate tayo, nakikipag-coordinate sa Interpol. We are just awaiting the response from the Interpol. So, tayo naman ay naging maganda rin naman na kapartner ng Interpol at alam po natin na Interpol ay ginagawa din nila ang kanilang mandato. So, makakaasa po tayo at na mapapauwi ang mga fugitive dito.
The National Bureau of Investigation or NBI on Monday said there was no red notice yet against Ko. President Marcos earlier ordered the immediate apprehension of Ko following the issuance of a warrant of arrest against the fugitive lawmaker. On November 23, 2025, the NBI filed a request with Interpol for the issuance of a red notice against Ko. An Interpol red notice is a request to law enforcement worldwide to locate and provisionally arrest a person pending extradition, surrender, or similar legal action. However, it is not an international arrest warrant and is restricted to law enforcement use only. The government has already canceled the passport of Ko, who is considered a key figure for alleged involvement in anomalous flood control projects. Malacañang also expressed openness to offering a monetary reward for information leading to Ko's arrest. According to reports, Ko was in Stockholm, Sweden last month based on the document attached to his petition filed before the Supreme Court.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang announced a crackdown on erring contractors on Tuesday with 16 firms already under blacklisting proceedings and over 60 more potentially facing the same fate. Palace Press Officer and Communications Undersecretary Attorney Claire Castro said the measure targets contractors involved in alleged anomalous infrastructure projects such as inadequate work, overpricing, and late delivery. 4 contractors' licenses have already been canceled according to Castro, who cited information from the Philippine Contractors Accreditation Board.
Kanina po ay natanong natin ang Pangulo patungkol dyan at natanong din po natin ang PICAB at ang DPWH. According sa PICAB po, 16 po ang ongoing na proseso para sa blacklisting ng mga contractor na sangkot sa mga anomalyang infrastructure projects. At 4 sa kanila po ay sigurado na pong na-revoke ang kanilang lisensya. At ayon naman din po sa DPWH ay hihigit sa 60 contractor ang maaaring ma-blacklist. Pero ang sabi po ng Pangulo, kahit po magkakaroon tayo ng blacklisting ng ibang mga kontraktor ay hindi po maaapektuhan ang tuloy-tuloy na pagsasagawa ng mga infrastruktura sa bansa natin dahil marami pa po ng mga kontraktor na masasabi natin na maaayos magtrabaho. Magbubukas po ng pintuan itong sinasabi ng Pangulo na ang matitino at maaayos na mga kontraktor ay babayaran agad. Yan po kasi ang pag-uutos ng Pangulo noong nagkaroon ng huling pagmi-meeting with the economic team. So, hindi po kailangan matakot ang mga contractor at ang mga nasa industriya na makipag-negosasyon at makipag-transact sa gobyerno dahil ang pangako po ng Pangulo, babayaran po ang lahat mga contractor na maayos magtrabaho.
The blacklisting is part of broader measures to promote transparency and prevent financial mismanagement as the government cracks down on widespread wrongdoing in flood control projects. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. previously directed government agencies to swiftly settle debts to contractors who successfully completed government projects as part of a push to encourage economic activity while guaranteeing accountability in public spending.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang said Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. will allow the Independent Commission for Infrastructure or ICI to decide whether to continue its operations or conclude its mandate. Palace Press Officer and Communications Undersecretary Attorney Claire Castro said the President respects the ICI's independence and will not interfere in its work, although assistance from the executive branch remains available if requested. Castro said President Marcos is awaiting the ICI's complete report on anomalous flood control projects before any further action is discussed. She encouraged the Commission to directly communicate with President Marcos to clarify concerns and make recommendations related to its mandate.
Okay, ang sabi po niya, ang ICI daw po ay isang independent body. Independent Commission. Kung ano po ang magiging desisyon ng ICI, yun po ang maaari maging tugon ng Pangulo. Kung kinakailangan nila ng tulong sa executive, ibibigay po. Pero kung ano po ang magiging destiny ng ICI, kung ano ang magiging susunod na magalaw nila, yan po ay pinauubaya ng Pangulo sa ICI bilang independent commission. Hindi ko po alam kung paano nila gagawin, pero bilang independent body, I think maaari naman silang kumuha kung sinong mga tauhan ang pwede nilang gawin or kunin. Yes, pero may chairman naman po sila. Kung ano po ang nais po ng ICI, according to the President a while ago, kung ano ang nais nilang gawin, at kung ano ang kung gusto pala lang magpatuloy, sabihin lamang nila sa Pangulo at susuportahan sila. Kung sasabihin po rin nila na tapos na kanilang obligasyon, makikinig po ang Pangulo. Okay, ito po ulit ang independent body po kasi ang ICI. So ayaw po makialam ng Pangulo kung ano po ang magiging desisyon nila. Kung ang desisyon po nila ay gusto nila na magkaroon ng panibagong miyembro, sabihin lamang po nila sa Pangulo, hingin po nila ang mga kailangan na maitulong ng administrasyon para magpatuloy sila sa kanilang mandato. Ang sabi po, muli sabihin natin, kasi ang hirap po magbigay ng sagot sa mga hypothetical questions. Kung hindi naman sila hihingi ng ganyan na kapangangailangan, parang mailalagay ko naman po sa alanganin ng Pangulo. So, hayaan po natin ang ICI, nadinig po nila ang ICI sa sinabi natin ngayon. Ang kapalaran po ng ICI ay nasa pagdidesisyon mismo ng ICI. Maganda po siguro kung makikipag-usap silang diretso sa Pangulo. Kasi po, ngayon po, ayaw po talaga makialam ng Pangulo sa ginagawa ng ICI kasi independent body po sila. Kung ano man po ang kanilang suwestyon, maaari po nila ito ibigay sa Pangulo. Sa ngayon, kasalukuyan ay wala pa po tayo nalalaman kung nakapagbigay na sila ng report. Depende po. Nung tinanong ko po yan, kung paano po ang mangyayari sa ICI, sabi nila, sabi ng Pangulo, independent body ito. So kung anong kapalaran ng ICI at kung anong pagpapasya, yun din po ang magiging katugunan ng Pangulo. So tinanong ko po siya, paano po kung kinakailangan ng budget, sabihin lang po nila, dahil tutugon naman po ang Pangulo. Sa ngayon po, katulad na sinabi ko kanina, hindi po natin alam kung meron na po sila na ibigay na report. Ang nadidinig naman po niya ay tapos na po talaga ang naging trabaho ni Secretary Babe Singson at sa dating Commissioner Fajardo. So siguro po mas maganda kung makakapagbigay sila ng complete report patungkol sa kanilang mga natapos para po mapag-usapan kung ano po talaga ang gusto ng ICI.
Malacañang earlier said the ICI remains fully operational while completing its work. ICI created through Executive Order or EO number 94 issued in September 2025 is mandated to investigate anomalous infrastructure projects implemented in the past 10 years. As of December 26, 2025, the Commission has filed 8 referrals with the Office of the Ombudsman, excluding joint referrals with the DPWH involving nearly 100 individuals. The referrals have so far resulted in the filing of 3 cases by the Ombudsman and the arrest of 16 individuals.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang said Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is avoiding executive overreach in the release of the Statements of Assets, Liabilities, and Net Worth or SALNs of House lawmakers, particularly those under investigation for alleged links to flood control anomalies. Palace Press Officer and Communications Undersecretary Attorney Claire Castro issued a statement after Ombudsman Jesus Crespin Remulla disclosed on Monday that he is encountering difficulty securing the SALNs of lawmakers being investigated by the anti-graft body. Remulla, a former Congressman, said there is no rule requiring plenary approval for the release of SALNs. He said he would raise the issue with House Speaker Faustino D. III after the Office of the Secretary General headed by Cheloy Garafil informed the Office of the Ombudsman that plenary approval is required before copies of lawmakers' SALNs can be released. Castro said while President Marcos is pushing for transparency and accountability in government, he also respects the separation of powers.
Maliwanag po na ang gusto po ng Pangulo ay transparency and accountability. Pero may kanya-kanya pong rules na sinusunod ang bawat departamento. Meron po tayong separation of powers na tinatawag at kung ano man po ang rules ng House of Representatives or Kongreso patungkol po dyan, yan po ay ginagalang ng Pangulo. Iniiwasan po ng Pangulo na magkaroon ng executive, overreach. So, iniiwasan po ng Pangulo na magkaroon ng executive overreach.
In 2020, the Office of the Ombudsman limited public access to government officials' SALNs by requiring the consent of the statement's owner before a SALN request could be evaluated by the anti-graft body's office. The restriction was lifted after Remulla issued Memorandum Circular 3 on October 14, 2025, prompting several senators and congressmen to release a copy of their respective SALNs.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has given initial approval to prolong the registration validity of newly purchased vehicles from 3 to 5 years as part of measures to relieve the burden on motorists and expedite government processes, according to Malacañang. Palace Press Officer and Communications Undersecretary Attorney Claire Castro said Department of Transportation or DOTR Acting Secretary Giovanni Lopez presented a proposal during a meeting with the President in Malacañang.
Katulad na sinabi natin, nagkaroon po ng suggestion si Secretary Lopez Nagawin na po yung mga new vehicle, ang registration ay imbes na 3 years, ay gawing 5 years. At naipakita po ng Secretary Lopez ang kagandahan po nito. At initial po na naaprubahan ito ng Pangulo at susundan po ito ng mga memorandum na gagawin po ng DOTR. So hintayin na lamang po natin to.
According to the palace, the idea is anticipated to cut the frequency of car registration transactions, shorten waits at government offices, and reduce compliance expenses for motorists, particularly those who own brand new automobiles. During the meeting, Lopez informed the president about ongoing improvements in railway operations, such as the rehabilitation of MRT3 facilities at the Quezon Avenue station, the continued rollout of cashless payment systems at MRT3, and the planned implementation of cashless payments in LRT1 and LRT2 this year. Lopez also mentioned the renovation of the remaining Dalian trains to boost MRT3 capacity. On significant infrastructure projects, Castro said that partial operations of the North-South Commuter Railway will begin in 2027 for the Valenzuela to Malolos stretch, in 2028 for Malolos to Clark. Partial operations of MRT7, which will connect Quezon City and Bulacan, are also planned for 2027. Meanwhile, the Metro Manila subway is set to begin a test run in 2028 with full operations projected by 2033. Castro said that the president addressed ways to ensure speedier, more comfortable travel, such as shorter lines, additional trains, and extended running hours.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang supports the proposed no work, no pay policy for lawmakers, but Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. will leave the choice to Congress. Palace Press Officer and Communications Undersecretary Attorney Claire Castro said that the President was asked about the proposal made by House Majority Leader Sandro Marcos, but highlighted that lawmaking is beyond the President's jurisdiction. Castro said overall, the premise underlying the proposition had value. She did, however, emphasize that the president will act only after the bill had been formally handed to him.
Sinabi po natin na ito'y panukala ni Congressman Sandro. So mukhang hindi pa po sila nag-uusap patungkol po dito dahil nabigla siya na may proposal si Congressman Sandro. Pero ang sabi lamang po ng Pangulo, trabaho po yan ng babatas. At hindi po siya makikialam kung ano po ang mangyayari kung ito'y magiging batas. At kung ano lang po ang ihahain sa kanya at mababasa niya, yun lamang po ang kanyang aaralin. Muli, yun lamang po kasi ang nabanggit sa atin ng Pangulo. Pero kung pag-uusapan po in general, maganda po ito dahil po para malaman naman nila na mga taong hindi nagtatrabaho ay hindi naman dapat na makinabang sa pondo ng bayan. Pero muli, inuulit natin ang sinabi ng Pangulo, hindi po niya saklaw ang paggawa ng batas.
House Bill number 7432 attempts to connect senators and representatives' wages and benefits to their attendance and involvement in legislative work, following public requests for greater responsibility in both chambers of Congress.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Tuesday said the recent Senate discussion on the West Philippine Sea, or WPS, exemplifies democratic procedures in the Philippines. However, the administration remains resolute in defending the country's maritime claims. Senators from the majority group previously sponsored Senate Resolution number 256, which reaffirmed the country's claim to the WPS and condemned coercive acts by Chinese embassy representatives toward Philippine officials. Senator Rodante Marcoleta sparked the issue by criticizing the United Nations Arbitral Tribunal's 2016 decision in favor of the Philippines, arguing that it failed to offer definite coordinates or borders. Palace Press Officer and Communications Undersecretary Attorney Claire Castro, however, said that President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. reiterated his commitment to preserving Philippine interests in the WPS while maintaining robust diplomatic engagement with other countries.
Ang usapin po, kung nagkaroon po man ng debate sa Senado, yan po ay kanilang mandato. Pag-usapan kung anong issue. At yan po ay parte ng pagiging democratic country. Pero alam po natin ang posisyon ng Pangulo patungkol po sa West Philippine Sea. Unang-una po ay dapat na ipaglaban, protektahan kung ano man ang interes na mayroon ng Pilipinas at kung ano man po ang nagiging issue sa ibang bansa, gagamit pa rin po tayo ng matatag, malakas, ngunit may diplomasya na pakikipag-usap.
Manila and Beijing have had a long-standing maritime conflict with the Philippines, accusing China of aggressive maneuvers, water cannon incidents, and obstruction of supply missions in the country's exclusive economic zone, or EEZ. Beijing continues to assert sovereignty over much of the South China Sea, including areas within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. The Philippines' position is based on the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, and a 2016 arbitral tribunal verdict that rejected China's broad claims.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang assured the public that the government will be transparent in utilizing public funds for the Philippines' hosting of this year's Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN Summit, and related summits. Palace Press Officer and Communications Undersecretary Attorney Claire Castro said Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. would ensure that no irregularities would occur in the release and use of funds for ASEAN-related events and activities. Castro noted that ASEAN meetings are considered high-profile international events which may qualify for exemptions from standard open competitive bidding, allowing alternative procurement methods such as negotiated procurement or direct contracting as provided under existing rules. She also responded to criticisms that New Star Resort and Casino in Cebu, the venue for the recent ASEAN-related event, was inappropriate for official functions due to its casino setting, considering the presence of Muslim delegates from ASEAN member states such as Brunei, Indonesia, and Malaysia. She said the government did not violate any protocol in choosing New Star Resort, a 5-star integrated resort used as a venue for international events.
Unang-una po, there's nothing to rectify dahil kung ito naman po ay hotel, casino, at ang nature ng event ay gagamitin po ito para sa isang international event like summit, hindi po para magsugal, wala naman po nilalabag na protocol ang bansang Pilipinas. So iba po kasi ang usapan kung pupunta doon para magsugal. Pero kapag ka po ang hotel, although may kasamang casino, pero ang purpose po ay umattend ng isang event, hindi po naman wala po nilalabag na anumang protocol ang Office of the President or ang administrasyon na ito. Patungkol po naman sa sinasabi nating procurement, ang proseso po na ito ay mahigpit po na tinututukan at kasama na rin po ang evaluation, of course, at ang nature ng event. Pero ang katulad pong itong event ay masasabi po nating high-profile international events na karamihan po ay nagko-qualify po for exemptions from standard open competitive bidding, allowing for alternative procurement methods katulad ng negotiated procurement at direct contracting. Nag-report naman po at makakaasa po kayo dahil ang Pangulo po ayaw po niya ng usapin patungkol sa korupsyon, kaya po makakaasa po kayo dyan.
Palace Press Officer and Communications Undersecretary Attorney Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Finally, for Dateline Malacañang, the 20 pesos per kilogram rice program under the Benteng Bigas Meron Na or BBM Na of the Marcos administration has served 2.6 million Filipinos and is now accessible in 500 sites, according to the Department of Agriculture or DA. DA Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel made the announcement as he led the expansion of BBM Na in Pampanga and the site inspection of a state-of-the-art post-harvest facility in the province. In a statement, Chu Laurel assured strong coordination with the National Food Authority or NFA, Food Terminal Incorporated or FTI, and local government units or LGUs to realize the food security targets of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. tenure. In Pampanga alone, the DA estimated about 350,000 qualified BBM na beneficiaries. DA Assistant Secretary Genevieve Velicaria Guevara said Pampanga may be considered as a key distribution hub as NFA warehouses in Central Luzon hold about 8,300 metric tons or MT of rice stocks. To date, millions of Filipinos have accessed the cheaper rice option as the DA implemented its nationwide expansion across all 82 provinces. Eligible beneficiaries include senior citizens, persons with disabilities or PWDs, solo parents, members of the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program or 4Ps, farmers, fisherfolk, transport workers, minimum wage earners, teachers and non-teaching personnel, as well as middle and low-income households, among others. Chu Laurel said the BBM na will run until June 30, 2028. Chu Laurel also led the inspection of the 414.18 million pesos Pampanga Food Security Complex in Barangay Santa Catalina in Lubao. Once fully operational, the facility will function as a one-stop service center for local farmers as the government seeks to boost local rice production, slash post-harvest losses, and improve the quality of rice. The state-of-the-art post-harvest facilities will include mechanical dryers, rice milling systems, and modern warehouses.
Dateline Malacañang.
And that is all for today's Dateline Malacañang for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This has been Bea Gaza-de Guzman.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.